How The Meg was filmed. Probably there was some water involved. Okay, people, let's get to it. Movies Inside Out presents. The Meg is a 2018 sci-fi action movie that became the first installment in the franchise, about a giant prehistoric shark. The production stopped multiple times and the filming almost ended in a tragedy. Watch our new video to learn about the bumpy road of the movie to the box office, Statham's stunt double, and the frustrating fails of the creators. Ready? Let's go! The creation story. The story behind the movie The Meg began in 1997, when American writer Steve Alten made his debut with the book titled Meg, a novel of deep terror. The film production label Hollywood Pictures purchased the film rights straight away, and soon they hired Tom Wheeler to work on the script, but producers weren't really happy with him. Then they invited Jeffrey Boehm to work on the new version, but he also failed to impress the studio. Soon, the film rights circled back to the author, and the project got stuck in the so-called production limbo. Let me say it more tough. In the production limbo. In 2005, there was information that the New Line Cinema Company picked up the project development, making a hefty production investment of $75 million. The initial plan was for Shane Salerno to work on another screenplay, Jane DeBont to direct, and Guillermo del Toro to produce. The team was able to make a shot breakdown, and they even made a model of the shark from clay and fiberglass. But soon they realized that they would go way over budget. After learning that production costs could amount to $200 million, New Line Cinema's enthusiasm subsided. The studio still offered the creators $125 million, but there were also rather strict guidelines. So in 2007, the project got cancelled and Alten got the film rights back again. In January 2015, word got out that Warner Brothers Studios started working on the movie adaptation of The Meg, hiring Dean Georgeris as the screenwriter. That same year in June, it was announced that Eli Roth would direct the motion picture, but he eventually left the project due to creative and financial differences with the producers to work on the thriller Death Wish, starring Bruce Willis. In March 2016, Warner Brothers gave the director's chair to John Turteltaub, who had a commercially successful comedy with a star-studded cast, Las Vegas, under his belt. Grant Major and Kim Sinclair were assigned production designers. They received Oscars for Best Art Direction, working on The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, and Avatar, respectively. Casting. In April 2016, the information started circulating in the media that the action movie hero Jason Statham would star as Jonas Taylor. The supporting actors came on board in the next few months, and the casting finished in September. Fun fact, some actors were connected to wildlife and water sports in real life. For instance, Jason Statham used to compete for the UK's national high diving team when he was young. Li Bingbing, who portrayed Suyin Zhang, is an environmental activist who also promotes eco-friendly living. Apart from that, she is one of the most influential ambassadors for the World Wildlife Fund. Cliff Curtis, who played James McBride, was born in New Zealand, where they filmed most of the movie. He had an explosive background in the native culture and spent his whole childhood reading stories about sharks. Robert Taylor, who got the role of Dr. Heller, spent a lot of time working on oil rigs and surfing before becoming an actor. By the way, Ruby Rose, who portrayed Jax Hurd, also did swimming and surfing. The actress also perused a lot of materials about megalodons before joining the project. Before the filming began, the leading actors, stunt doubles, and extras did a swim boot camp, which was designed by the stunt coordinator Alan Poppleton. The actors spent a month training in the pool daily, practicing high diving from different heights twice a week, and learning proper breathing techniques with the help of a bowl filled with water and a mirror on the bottom of it. We should mention that Statham didn't really need the boot camp thanks to his athletic past. The filming process. Filming of the movie The Meg started on October 13, 2016 in West Auckland, New Zealand. 3 companies collaborated on the special effects: Sony Pictures Imageworks, Image Engine, and Scanline VFX. The visual effects supervisor, Adrian DeWitt, coordinated their work. The specialists had a challenging task at hand. They needed to create a blood-curdling image of the primordial shark and recreate its habitat to a T. By the way, it took them 12 months to develop the image of the 75-foot megalodon. The specialists studied different archaeology and paleontology theories about the ancient creature so it would fit into the water environment without looking like the great white shark but bigger. They also studied the biomechanics of sharks and computer modeled their body language to achieve maximum authenticity. As for the creatures that the characters met underwater, the visual effects artists let themselves loose and mixed together existing sea creatures. Look, Mr. Krabs' daughter is a whale. You can't surprise me anymore. By the way, although Jason Statham performed most of his stunts himself, they used CGI to create a digital double for the actor, repeating his movements and facial expressions to film extremely difficult scenes. They also made a life-size physical model of some pieces of the head and the tail of the shark for some scenes. Since the actors couldn't really picture the scale of the megalodon and had to use their imagination during the filming, the movie creators came up with a curious way to demonstrate the enormous size of the shark. They brought a shipping container with a horrendous megalodon painted on it on set. To experience the fear of being around predators, Statham went to Fiji to witness the impressive sight of 25 bull sharks being fed at 65 feet underwater. Apart from that, they built 2 large water tanks. The first one was 2.5 million liters and it was comparably shallow, and yet the surface area was vast. This, and a huge green screen attached to one side, allowed them to film most of the on-water scenes. The second pool fit 1.26 million liters. The 16-foot deep tank was round, had a blue roof, and was finished with blue material meant for pools. It was brought inside the studio and used for underwater scenes. By the way, the crew decided to leave the pools after they wrapped for the New Zealand movie industry to use them. Filming in this setting was challenging, as the water in the tank turned cloudy and they had some heavy-duty filters working 24/7 to keep it clear because computer technologies were useless even when there was the slightest hint of opacity. Rainn Wilson, who played Jack Morris, shared that at first, the thought of filming on water for a long time got him really excited, but after numerous takes, he realized what a tedious journey it would be. One of the most technically demanding scenes was the one where Jonas plunges into the sea from the boat to put a tracking device on the Meg, after which the shark notices the hero and starts chasing him. The episode where Jonas is being dragged by the boat was shot in the ocean, while the part where the antagonist is quickly pulled from the water was filmed in the pool using a special tower with ropes. They used the same combined approach to shoot the scene where Suyin goes underwater in a special diving cage that is supposed to keep her safe from sharks. The submerging itself was filmed in the ocean, while the rest of the scene was done in the pool. By the way, there's a reason why the Mana 1 cage, unlike typical metal diving cages, had a cylinder shape and was made of polycarbonate. According to the production designer Grant Major, he wanted to create a certain cinematic effect so that nothing would distract the viewers from such an emotional scene. To make the boat look like it belongs to the Oceanographic Institute, Major had to reconstruct the upper decks. But the filming crew couldn't do anything to the rented property, so Oakland Masters recreated the boat deck, which was then transferred to the pool. They constructed a specific hydraulic platform to overturn the 27,500-pound deck, but it required serious skills both from the technicians and the actors, so the stunt doubles stepped in for the leading actors in most of the scene. They filmed the most epic and nerve-wracking scenes from 16 different angles, using the same number of boats. Curiously, apart from the boat in the plot, they deployed lots of boats for the filming crew as well as for makeup artists, costume designers, props team, and rescue divers. By the way, the latter saved Ruby Rose's life once. She nearly drowned after her shoes filled up with water. As for the 3 submersibles that appear throughout the movie, they never left the water tank in the studio. When developing the intricate mechanisms of the underwater vehicles, Major carefully studied how the real machines worked. One of the hardest tasks was the creation of the gliders that resembled racing cars. They were made of glass fiber and a steel frame. They had a control cabin in the middle, which stayed balanced thanks to a hydro stabilizer. By the way, each submersible had a functional operating console installed, allowing actors to control the hydro stabilizer and display information according to the script. The largest film set was the observation cabin that let the characters witness the beauty of the underwater world. They created it by building adjacent corridors with glass walls supported by steel bars. The complex structure was lifted so that the director and the cameraman could film the compartment from different angles. After finishing filming in New Zealand, the crew went to Sanya, a Chinese city on Hainan Island, where they shot the scene of the Meg attacking a crowded beach. More than 2,000 extras were featured in it. Later on, Turtletop shared that they devised a special system for counting people for their safety, which they used while filming the scene. Fun fact, even though the director used a speaker to ask everyone to act terrified when they saw the shark coming,
oh my,
half of the extras started smiling, so they had to fix their happy faces with computer graphics. The filming wrapped on January 4, 2017, after which the director started the post-production stage. During that time, the motion picture was 3D rendered by the company Legend 3D. In the meantime, the composer Harry Gregson Williams, who is known for his soundtracks for Shrek, The Chronicles of Narnia, and The Martian, began working on the soundtrack, which was later recorded in a studio in Vienna. By the way, you can spot some curious references to the iconic movie Jaws. For instance, the scene where a boy asks his mom to let him go swimming repeats the scene with the second victim in Spielberg's motion picture. Even the swimsuits that the mothers wear in the movies look very alike. Also, there's a scene in Jaws where the shark is pulling some barrels. There's a similar scene in The Meg, only featuring ducks. Movie mistakes and errors. Despite being meticulous about many features of the underwater world and tech, they couldn't avoid making mistakes related to the position of people and objects within the frame, as well as other minor errors. For instance, in the scene where the research team looks at the screen displaying some information about the megalodon in the conference hall, the first and the third paragraphs of the article are the same. Upon seeing the megalodon, Mei Ying drops the ball and the tablets, but there's nothing on the floor in the next shots. In the scene where Jonas shoots the megalodon with a tracking gun, you can spot two mistakes. There are lots of fragments on the water surface, but there's nothing in the underwater shots. Jonas had the comm in his right ear, and in one shot, it somehow switched to the left ear and went back to the right ear. During the final face-off with the Meg, Jonas puts on a mask that covers his whole face underwater, but when he gets out of the water, he wears only a rebreather. It's also unclear what happened to the ship, which got crashed by a helicopter. It was supposed to be behind the heroes. Apart from that, Mei Ying's hairpin changes position between shots at the end of the movie. There are many more serious factual errors in The Meg. For instance, the shark would be blinded by the bright light on the surface since it lives in a pitch-black darkness in the deep sea. By the way, the book takes this fact into account, and the megalodon comes to the surface only at night to avoid sunlight. More than that, living almost 7 miles deep under insane water pressure, the shark would die within a couple of minutes if it just came to the surface.
how are you gonna kill it?
Evolution. I'm gonna make this thing bleed. Chew on this, you ugly bastard.
We should also mention that the biggest megalodons measured 59 feet, while the length of the one in the movie is 75 feet. Apart from that, in real life, the predators used to be a thermophilic species and lived in the top layers of the ocean, eating whales and other kinds of large fish. It is also very weird that the megalodon could easily drag a whole ship, but was apparently too weak to tear some steel rope tied to the same ship when it was trying to reach Jones. It's also obvious that it would be no biggie for a multi-ton shark to tank the boat, but miraculously enough, it didn't even break the thin rails. At the beginning of the movie, the female whale named Lucy makes singing sounds, but it's incorrect, because only males do that in the wild. In another scene, we see dead bodies of sharks floating around, while in reality, they are neutrally and negatively buoyant, so if anything happens, they sink immediately. When Jonas descends in evolution, he gets a nosebleed due to substantial pressure fluctuations. But the hero is inside a pressurized vessel, which means that the environment beyond the submersible doesn't affect his state whatsoever. In the scene where Jonas threatens Heller, he says that he can attack him without any consequences since they're in the international waters. This is not true, and the hero would have to receive punishment according to the laws of the country that registered the ship. At the beginning of the movie, Laurie is injured in the left part of the stomach, and later the doctor says that the liver didn't suffer any damage. There's no way it could be damaged since the liver is located in the right part of the belly.
Sorry. I was wrong.
There are also a couple of geographic errors in the movie. The research facility Mana 1 is located 200 miles from the coastline of China, and at the same time, it's right above the Mariana Trench. But actually, the Mariana Trench is located in the western Pacific Ocean, which is 3,100 miles away from mainland China. In addition to that, at the beginning of the movie, the characters face the Meg in the Philippine Trench and then in the Mariana Trench, but there are around 1,240 miles between the two destinations, and it would be hard for the Meg to travel across them. Deleted scenes and bloopers. It is known that initially John Turteltaub wanted to include a lot of violent and bloody scenes. However, he changed his mind because he wanted to get the PG-13 rating, which would allow him to reach a wider audience. It's so sweet of him to think about the kids, especially since they and their parents bring you profit. According to the director, the Meg didn't change after those scenes were cut, and he would definitely keep them in the movie if they enhanced the general impression. Sadly, the viewers will never see the terrifying scenes because the crew didn't finish working on the visual effects for most of them, and the producers most probably won't spend millions of dollars on finishing the bonus screen time. In an interview, Ruby Rose described a funny scene that took 5 hours to film, but that didn't make it into the final cut. It features Statham's character listing the things he'll need for the mission and finishing the list with the phrase, "and a banana," which made the whole filming crew laugh. But unfortunately, the creators are not planning on showing this scene to the viewers as well. Worldwide recognition. Warner Brothers and the Gravity Pictures studio that promoted the motion picture in China initially had March 2nd, 2018 planned as the release date. Then they decided that it would be a smart move to release it on February 16 during the Chinese New Year holidays. But later, the US release date got bumped to August 10 of the same year. During the opening weekend at the box office, the movie earned $45 million, which is 2 times more than was expected at first. It was the best result in both Statham and Turteltaub's career. As a result, with a budget of $130 million, the Meg grossed $145 million in the US and Canada and $348 million in other countries, making the total box office gross around $530 million. According to the online source Deadline Hollywood, considering marketing costs, the movie had to reach the $400 million mark to break even.
And what if you're wrong?
Then you have wasted $1.3 billion.
The salaries of the cast and movie creators are kept hush, but rumor has it that Jason Statham got paid around $13 million. The movie was digitally released on October 30, while the DVD release happened on November 13. Within the next few years, the Meg was also uploaded to the streaming services Amazon Prime and Hulu. Although the film showed some pretty decent results at the box office, most movie critics had mixed feelings about it. They didn't get enough thrill that makes this genre so enthralling for the audience. The Meg also released some backlash for lack of individuality and was called one of the most mediocre ripoffs of Steven Spielberg's Jaws. Still, some critics praised the movie creators for impressive special effects and really appreciated the cast performance, especially that of Statham. As for the accolades, the Meg didn't really get lucky. The only exception was the 2018 Golden Trailer Awards. It won the prize in the category Golden Fleece. In 2019, it was nominated for Best Home and Horror or Thriller and Best Billboard. The motion picture also received the Razzie Awards nomination for Worst Remake, Rip-Off, or Sequel, as it was too similar to the movie Jaws. By the way, Stephen Alton enjoyed the movie adaptation. He admitted that he had always seen the commercial potential in a franchise based on his novels, but only if the creators would do a good job recreating the atmosphere and casting the right actors. As far as he is concerned, the producers absolutely nailed it. Since the movie was a pretty big box office hit, the studio started working on the sequel in October of 2018. The second installment, directed by Ben Wheatley, was titled Meg 2: The Trench. It was released in the summer of 2023, but it earned $100 million less, and the critics were less excited about it. Despite the less enthusiastic reaction to the movie, the studio is entertaining the idea of the third part. Wheatley is planning to shift the tone of the picture to that of action comedy, but we'll see if he'll be able to bring his ideas to life. Why didn't the Meg get recognition from movie critics and savvy viewers? What's your take?